Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley, brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network and Natural Beauty Spa. To see our podcast and other USL podcasts and articles, be sure to check out their website at bgn.fn. You can also check out our podcast on Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Soundcloud, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. For those of you that are listening through the podcast audio or through the archive, we go live. We try to go live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Down in the Valley. Now this week, I'm very ecstatic to have RGVFC defender Robert Coronado on the show. Rob, first of all, welcome to Down in the Valley.
What's up, Edson? Hope you're doing well, and just want to say thank you for having me. Looking forward to the video.
Now, it's been an interesting couple of weeks in the past. I know you've been going through a lot of. You barely started going back into training. First of it was individual, then now I believe you're now in small groups, correct?
Yeah, we're groups of 3 as of right now.
That's it's slow steps, but hopefully we can get back to playing some USL. But today's interview really isn't about what's going on in the currently in this particular timeline.
Obviously, the time continuum has been disrupted, creating this new temporal event sequence resulting in this alternate reality.
English, Doc.
I just went whole Back to the Future. Guys, sorry about that. I was binge watching Back to the Future yesterday, so forgive me about that. But anyways, but this interview is more so that you as the fans could know more about our players, and Rob pretty much has the honor of being the first RGVFC player on of this year to be on our show for an interview like that. But basically, we want for the fans to know more about you, how you got to where you're at now at RGVFC. So, first of all, let's go ahead and get started, Rob. So, it's been, you grew up from La Habra, California. How was your childhood in La Habra?
So I have been. Well, I lived in La Habra for pretty much almost all my life up until I came over here to Texas. So even when I was in college, I stayed at my parents' since it was so close and save money and stuff like that. But I grew up in obviously La Habra, California. Made a lot of friends, and to this day still talk to a lot of them. Met a lot of people through soccer there while playing at the park. Most of my family lives in Southern California, and most of them live in La Habra. So it's very cool to have, your family right down the street from you, and knowing that you can always go to, your grandma's house whenever you want to go, and your cousins, your friends, and it's just a nice little community. And getting to know everyone is really fun, just because you obviously meet different people from different backgrounds, and you just become great friends and keep those friendships for a lifetime. So
at what moment of your life did you decide, you know what, I want to be a professional soccer player?
Well, when I was a kid, obviously I was just a kid, that would just play soccer, up until I started playing, club, and it got a little bit more competitive. That's when I started thinking, okay, am I just a kid that plays soccer, or am I going to be a soccer player? Because that's 2 different things. Our club coach used to tell us that all the time. He would ask us, are you just someone that plays soccer, or are you a soccer player? So I say in my early teen years is okay, I'm a soccer player. This is when I start training on my own. I don't just go to training twice a week. I'm going to have to be training on my own, get better, whether it's going to the park by myself, or going to go play pickup games, at different indoor facilities or futsal arenas, and just different things like that, just to stay around the ball, stay around the game, and not just go to training just when you're team is training twice a week. So I'd say about like the early teen years is when I'd say, okay, like I want to continue to be or continue to want to be a professional soccer player and strive for that and set that as a goal.
I believe you mentioned with Carson last week
Hmm.
that you had a youth coach that was very influential in your life. Was this the same one that you're
Yeah, that's
speaking
the
of?
thing. Yeah, Jimmy Obleda. Yeah.
Jimmy Obleda. And what was he? How long did he guide you in that process of when you decided, hey, you know what? I don't want to be uno el montón, like they say in Spanish. Like I actually want to make a career out of this. How much influence did he have, or how many years?
Well, he was my club coach from U12, I believe, up until college. So from
Hmm.
U12 all the way to U18, I think it was. Yeah, 18. So for those years, he kind of guided all of us just to become. He wanted us to become a better young man. That was pretty much his goal. Not just a better soccer player, but to become a better young man off the field. And I felt like his type of trainings, his type of language that he would use with his players would very like make every player mature at a very young age, and
Hmm.
I think that's what helped us and helped me as a player to grow and just to mature quicker than others.
Was there any advice that is stuck to you all of this time that he told you?
Yeah, there was one. I think I mentioned it with Carson as well. I think there's a lot, but I mean, some that just off the top of my head, he would always say, it's never good enough. It's never good enough. Whatever you do, it's never good enough. You can always do more. But one of the main ones I remember him saying is, once he would tell us, once I stop yelling at you, that's when I stop caring about you guys. That's when I stop. That's when you got to worry about it. So
Hmm.
because he was very tough on us, and that really showed that he really cared for us and that he really wanted the best out of us. And I think that's what I remember the most when he would tell us, once I stop yelling at you, that's when I stop caring for you or caring about you. So that's one of the main ones that I remember.
Was I'm assuming that your family were they soccer fanatics as well, or were you the only one that loved soccer?
No, I mean my whole family loves soccer. My grandpa from my dad's side, he's a big Chivas. Well, actually, both of my grandpas from my mom and my dad's, they both love Chivas. So they're big Chivista fans.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple uncles that are Pumas fans. My dad's side of the family, or my grandpa's side, his family is mostly in Mexico City, La Ciudad de Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a lot of Pumas right there. So I actually got the chance to go over there and train with those guys, but those that was pretty cool. But yeah, the mostly soccer is the main sport, if not like the most important sport in our family.
So you mentioned that you trained with Pumas in the youth systems, or
Yeah, so when I was 18 years old, after my first year of college, I went to go train with um, the Segunda. So
okay.
we knew a family friend who was the U17 coach, and he was able to get me in and just train with them. And at the time, it was tryout. So he pretty much told me, just don't say anything, just say you're here to try out and see what happens. So like the first couple of weeks, it was just tryouts. There was like 200 plus kids, and they ended up cutting kids every day, every day, every day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Came down to like the last 6 or 7 guys, and I was one of them. And that's when the last couple of weeks we started training with the actual Segunda team and the training staff, like all the coaching staff, the everybody. So we were kind of part of the group already. And when they started asking for paperwork, and we actually had a scrimmage against that's at our Segunda team. I don't remember exactly, but after that, I had a really good game, and they started asking for information after that. And at the time, I was just finishing my first year of college. I obviously had a scholarship. I was playing Division 1 soccer as well, so it took me about like a week to decide what I was gonna do. Um, and I ended up coming back to school and getting my degree and finishing off school and obviously soccer. So
Hmm.
once I told the Pumas people that I wanted to go back to the States and continue my studying, they told me to leave.
And I figured it was a really tough decision because mostly because, like you mentioned, like you really want to get yourself a degree, but you also want to try to find a way to debut in a league where where your what your family supports. You know, you mentioned your uncles being being Pumas fans as well. So I figured that was really tough for you to
It was
decide.
tough. Yeah, it was tough because all of my uncles in Mexico were, telling me to stay, and um, actually just one of my uncles was like, you know what, you need to go back and study. And I thought about it for, I'm telling you, about a week. I was just in bed, laying down after every training session. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And it came to a point where I just decided to finish my degree. You know, all these years of schooling, I didn't want to not screw it up, but since I had a scholarship, I didn't want to miss the opportunity,
Hmm.
to after my degree.
So going back with growing up, was there a specific? I am a robot. No, just kidding. Was there a specific soccer player, professional soccer player, that you considered your idol?
I say Andrea Pirlo, and that's because when I was playing club at that time, I was a center mid. I was a holding midfielder.
Hmm.
So I was a center mid up until I think my junior year of college. So um, he was one of like my biggest like idols, and the way he played, and he wore the Tiempo cleats. So I started wearing Tiempo cleats, and those were like a right fit for my foot. It just felt perfect. So I would watch a lot of his videos and just really admire his game.
The day that they announced that Andrea Pirlo was coming to MLS, did you ever get a chance to see him?
No, I never got a chance to see him. Nope, didn't get a chance. That's what I hope and wish I did, but didn't get the chance to do it.
So you mentioned that you were a holding midfielder,
Mhm.
throughout most of your college career.
Mhm.
What led to the change? What led to the change in position, or what position did they move you to, and what qualities did they see in you to tell you, hey, you know what, try, I'm going to put you in this position.
Okay, so yeah, so up this whole time growing up, I was holding midfielder, always a six, the holding midfielder, just playing simple, obviously, just doing all the dirty work. And when I got to college, I was obviously recruited as a holding midfielder,
Hmm.
and at the time we had 11 seniors on the team, and 9 of them were starters. There was actually a senior who was the starting holding midfielder. So it was pretty competitive. I got to start a couple games as holding mid and stuff, but moving into my second year, they brought in a lot of good midfielders, forwards. You know, really attack-minded team, and they try to find a way to put everybody on the field at the same time. So we had to kind of switch formations. We had to switch into like a 4-4-2 with a closed diamond in the middle.
Hmm.
So we had four true center mids in the midfield. So I was playing on that left roll of the diamond. You know, we
Hmm.
have that tight diamond inside. So that was considered a left mid, still center mid position.
Hmm.
So then going into my junior year, mid season, um, our left back he got injured in one of the games. I think he tore his ACL, and I think it was ACL. So mid game they were just like, okay, just drop back. So usually he just got injured. They took him out of the game, and they're like, okay, just drop back a position right now. While we make a sub.
Hmm.
And I ended up staying in that position that game. I remember it was at San Francisco, University of San Francisco, and um, from there on out, they kind of just put me as a left mid, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of hated it a little bit at first. Kind of had like a little big head at the time, and I was like, you know what, I don't want to be left back, But after talking to the staff and people and other coaches that watched me play left back, they were like, you know what, you have a good opportunity to continue and play pro at this position, especially now that left outside backs are involved a lot more than in the game before. So going into my senior year, that's when I had the injury, and I still was playing left back. I don't know if you want to talk about that, the injury
Sure.
stuff right now.
Sure.
Or
Sure, if you want.
so going into my senior year, um, I was doing some off-season training and ended up breaking my foot. So I was out for 7 months. I had to get surgery. Still have a screw in my foot to this day. So um, it wasn't the same after the surgery. After the first couple of months, it was kind of hard doing the therapy sessions. For my foot, my ankle, because once you hurt your foot, you can't walk, and you got to kind of start all over again. From the quads and calves, and working all the way down. So I ended up redshirting that year. It was kind of tough watching from the sidelines, but it kind of gave me a different perspective on the game, and just always try to find a positive in what I could improve while I'm sitting out, or whether I'm playing, not just kind of wasting my time and doing stuff that I'm not supposed to be doing. So then comes my 5th year, senior year. That's when I actually was able to play, and I stuck to the left back position. I know some games they threw me in as the attacking the 10 position, but mostly I was playing left back, and I was training really hard coming back from my injury, and I was training to be a left back. I was doing more exercises as a left back would do. So crossing the ball, 1v1 defending, just getting my lungs back and making sure that I'm fit for a 90 plus minute game, and ended up working out well. I ended up getting, I think it was leading team leading assist leader on the team that year, and I think I was like 2nd or 3rd from the league that year. So it was pretty weird because I wasn't getting any assists in the midfield. I was getting more assists when I was playing left back.
And if I'm not mistaken, that year you actually made the what is it, the all conference first team, correct?
Yeah, first team all conference. I think it was like best 11 from the conference that year.
Correct. Yeah, and so in that year, you had 6 assists with total of 18 in your career at Fullerton.
Yeah.
Which made you tied for 6 in the history of the program. So that those are really really good numbers. So
Yeah, thank you.
I really applaud you for that. So you spend your years at Cal Fullerton. You graduate, and you get the opportunity to sign at the pro level. Who reached out to you, and what was your first reaction when they told you that RGVFC was interested in you, and what made it appealing for you to sign with the team?
So it was a kind of weird situation how I got to RGV Toros. It was kind of lucky and funny, and obviously the hard work comes into play. But I actually had a assistant coach at Cal State Fullerton. His name is Coach Abraham Jacinto, and he actually helped me out a lot, getting in contact with the staff at RGV, and he actually knew one of the staff from RGV just because I think they've done like a coaching course together over like the years, and at the time I was making a highlight video, making sure that I had something to send out, to send out to coaches and to send out to people. So he was one of the persons that I sent it out to help me, expose myself. So I think he posted it on his Facebook, and I didn't know this until like last year after I signed. I didn't know any of this stuff. How I got here technically. So
Mm-hmm.
he posted it on his Facebook, and one of the staff from RGV saw it on his Facebook, obviously because they're friends on Facebook, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I guess they saw my video through there, and they got a hold of my coach Abraham, and Coach Abraham told me like, hey, this guy just hit me up. He's part of Houston Dynamo and their affiliate team. They said they're looking for players, especially a left back position. So um, this might be a good opportunity for you. And at first I was like, oh wow, like that's cool. I didn't expect it. I was just kind of like throwing my highlight video out there to see what would happen, and this popped
Mm-hmm.
up. And so then I ended up getting a call. He asked for, or he gave my information to the staff member, and I ended up getting a call one day. And I usually don't answer phone numbers that I don't have, or that don't have saved under contact. So I had this feeling like this call was going to be something, like, because it was just random, that it was a random day.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up answering, and it was Coach Jerson. It was Jerson on the phone. And he introduced himself. He told me like, "Hey, we saw your video. We like what we saw. We want to invite you to come to preseason with us, and our general manager will give you a call pretty soon." And like 2 minutes later, I get a call from Nick Koba, and he kind of introduces himself as well, and tells me, hey, we want you to come by. We like what we see. We're gonna have you on trial for preseason, and we'll go from there. So that was kind of like how I got here, through Facebook.
So you went through the trial process of preseason, having to go through, trying to be above the best and not get cut. Then,
Nothing guaranteed. Just come, and just like every other guy here.
what was your first impression of the Rio Grande Valley? Like as soon as you got off that plane, like what was your first impression of it?
So actually, when I came last year, we did preseason in Houston. So
Mm-hmm.
I first landed in Houston. When I first came down 2 weeks later to the RGV, uh, first step outside the airport, I was like, wow, this is very humid. This is very hot. Very
Welcome to
different
paradise.
compared. Yeah, it's very different when you lived in Southern California for
Mm-hmm.
21 years.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure, and you're not the only one to tell me that this humidity that we have here in the valley, it's a huge learning curve.
It is. It
Um,
really is.
so you were at Houston first. You finally get down to the Rio Grande Valley, and you see the stadium, you see the installations. Like, what did you think? And was that like a motivation for you to like give it your all to stay with the team?
Yeah. So when I saw pictures. Obviously, I was googling, RGB and looking up their stadium and stuff like that, and I was like, wow, this is really nice. And then when I got to the facilities, and I was like, okay, this is super nice. Like, I haven't seen this I haven't seen this in a while, or at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really like motivating, just making like trying to think to myself like, okay, do I want to come here every day? Like, yes, of course, I want to make this my home. Like, okay, so I need to do all my best to get myself in here. So that was like a really nice motivation, just to see the stadium, the stands, the colors, and the park, HEB Park itself.
Which of the players or staff members were the first ones to kind of embrace you and help you get accustomed to this new life? You mentioned 21 years or living in La Habra, and then all of a sudden going halfway across the nation to a place that you've never been to, and now you're by yourself. Who embraced you?
Well, probably most of you will get this answer right, and those two guys were Chuy and Castellanos. And I don't just say that because they're my friends now, because everyone is my friend now. But the first two guys that like opened up, like, hey, come hang out with us, like hang around with us, and obviously like a new guy like myself, who's new to this life environment, different from college, and obviously living away from home. And those two guys really made it like feel like home, and it was always a good time with those guys. Still is.
Definitely, you guys are like the last year. Well, you guys were inseparable. Sadly, well, Chewie went to the dark side, but the fact that the bond is still there between you all. That just shows how true of a friendship has been for all three of you. So you actually ended scoring. It took a while, mostly because well, your position is you're a left back. You're playing left back with RGV now, but you ended up scoring your first professional goal. I don't know if you remember against Orange County SC. Like, take us through that. Take us through that goal. Like, what was going through your mind, like when you took the shot and when you saw that it went in?
Well, if you go back, I think we were losing 2-0 at that time, or 1. I think it was 2-0 at the time that I scored the goal. So I had actually kind of given up a goal, one of the goals at the beginning. So I kind of had to make something up for it. I had to do something to pull off. Obviously, it didn't plan on scoring, but I was playing obviously a little bit more attack minded after that. So I did find myself towards the middle of the field. Usually, like you see a left back out wide and touching the sideline, but I found myself pushing more inside a little bit, and I think Alejandro played the ball to Ronaldo. Ronaldo laid it off first time, I think it was, and I took a touch going forward, obviously thinking, okay, I'm gonna give it back to Ronaldo, or I'm gonna give it out wide to, I think Chuy was playing at the time, and I was like, okay, no one's stepping to me. I'm gonna take another touch, and once I took the second touch, I was like, I'm just gonna hit it. I'm gonna take a shot, and I just remember hitting it super hard with my laces, and once I hit it, it's one of those shots where you're like, okay, it's gonna go. Like, it just felt so good, and um, ended up going, upper V, and I think that was to make it 2-1. So I couldn't really celebrate. So I just started running back to my position, but it was pretty like emotional because it was back home. That's probably the closest game to like my family, if not LA Galaxy. So it was pretty cool scoring in front of my family, and I know they were super hyped up, and I was super hyped up, but I couldn't celebrate. We were down. We had to get the ball and just get right back to it. But
Yeah.
I wish I was able to celebrate.
And you mentioned something really important, and that was also my observation from last season was every time RGV played away in California, whether it's like you mentioned against LA2 or Orange County, you had a lot of your friends and family make the trip to go and support you and the Toros. Like, the first game you're out there and seeing them up in the stands, like, I can't imagine how that must feel for you.
Yeah, so I think our first game that we went to was at LA2, and I think that was like in April, I think. So it was like a pretty quick turnaround, just leaving La Habra in January and coming back in April. So my family was really excited. One of my cousins, Alejandro Diaz, he made a flyer, and he kind of did like a tailgate flyer for my family, and they were gonna tailgate and throw a little bit, like a little comida, before the food, or before the game would start. And so they did that, and that game, Robert or Chuy's family traveled down as well. So they were able to join, the little tailgate before the game. So that was pretty cool. And I just remember telling the guys like, hey, I know we're playing away, but believe me, we're gonna be the home team. I told them like we're gonna have the home fans. And at first they were all laughing, and they were asking like, oh, how many tickets do you need, or like why do you need so much? Like, are you really gonna have that many people? And I feel like a lot of guys, and even the staff didn't believe me until the game started and they started to chant, and everyone turned around like, oh snap, who's that? And everyone had like a number 3, or they made posters. My family made posters, or those fat heads, and it was pretty cool because at the time, um, a lot of my family and friends had my jersey already, so they all wore the jerseys. So it was pretty cool.
I remember the one that said Coronado. I think they had one that said Coronado there as well, and I think that
Yeah,
that picture was at the LA2 game, that crazy
yeah,
4-4. Oh man,
yeah. That was a crazy game.
oh, so good times, like really good times.
Yeah,
I almost lost my hair, I will be honest, I almost lost my hair in that game, just like oh we can't, like El
that
Perro
was
Bermúdez said,
that was a
la
very intense
tenía,
game.
era suya y la dejó ir.
Yeah, it was a very intense game on the field. I could only imagine the fans and everyone else watching. So it was, we felt it in the field as well. So
Your first season ended. Sadly, the Toros didn't make it to the playoffs. But there was one moment, and I'm sure you're gonna remember this. But that game against Tulsa, right at the very end of the season,
hmm
you get injured once again in that match, and I think it was in around the 30th minute.
yeah, it was super early. It was like 20th minute, 25th or something like that. It was super early.
And I was that in the same foot that you had surgery on back in college?
Yeah, it was my right. So I broke my right metatarsal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the outside part of the foot, and the fifth metatarsal. Sorry. So um, at first, when I did get injured against Tulsa, I was like, oh my god, like am I hurt again? Like, is this the same thing? But I remember the pain of when I broke my foot, and it wasn't similar to this one, but this one still hurt. It was a different kind of pain though. But at first, the first thought that comes to your mind is, oh my gosh, it's the same foot. Everybody who's injured something before, whether it's their knee, their foot, whatever it is, and they hit it or they hurt it, it's the first thing they think of. Okay, is it the same thing as before? So it was a little scary at first.
And it took you, it was like what, like 5 weeks around there being
Five
out,
five
correct?
weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you come back towards the tail end of the season, and the Toros end up going on a really good run of form at the end of the season. I believe the last 5 matches were undefeated, So, but your first season as a professional finishes. So, based on that, what were you some of the major differences you've experienced between when you played at Collegiate at Fullerton and professional at RGV?
Well, I remember at the time when I was in college, we would play Orange County in our spring season, and I remember one of the coaches telling us, if you want to keep playing at the next level, you really got to pay attention to detail. And one of the main takeaways I remember is the game is faster. So the game is a lot faster. The game is gonna keep changing, keep speeding up. So it's up to you if you want to, stay with the game or stay behind. And one of the things he said was, as you get older or higher in the game of soccer, the higher level you play, the gaps start closing up. The gaps between players start closing up. They're faster, they're smarter. So I would say the speed of play for sure is a lot quicker than college. the substitutions at first was a little weird. You know, in college you're used to almost unlimited subs, so you're constantly going against wingers that are just freshly coming in, opposed to, you know, professional. You do usually sub the winger, and you usually defending the fastest guy on the field. So
Mm-hmm.
it's it's very fast paced at this level.
With the end of that season, what were some of the things that you felt you needed to improve moving forward, moving into this particular season?
For sure, I mean, there's always room for improvement everywhere, but I mean, the main ones I think would have been, or were, sorry, 1v1 defending,
Mm-hmm.
just becoming a little quicker, just the first 5 to 10 yards, and obviously the weak foot, the right foot, passing long balls, and I think those were the three main ones. Just getting a little stronger, quicker, a little bit more explosive the first 5, 10 yards, and 1v1 defending is the most important, I think.
And on the other side of the spectrum, what were some of the aspects of your game that you felt improved since becoming a pro?
Since becoming a pro, I'd say reading the game, knowing when, you know, to go forward, knowing when to stay back, just knowing who is on your team and what they're capable of doing. You know, there's players that are better with the ball at their feet, and there's players that are better when they get the ball in behind the defenders. So I think that was the funnest part about the most challenging and funnest part about, you know, learning who you're playing with and stuff, and just getting to know your teammates, and after all, obviously winning. So
Where does Robert Coronado see himself in 5 years?
hopefully in the MLS or somewhere bigger. I hope that's everyone's goal. But continue to stay healthy, playing, and just keep pushing for a higher level every single season. Just not getting comfortable, and hopefully making those big bucks in the leagues.
Here's hoping, man. I think you've shown a lot of potential. What is your favorite thing to do in the RGV?
Eat.
I'm gonna ask you a question since you did mention eating. If you were to given an option between Cali Mexican food or CalMex food or RGV Mexican food, which one do you think is better?
Okay, it's different because so when I came, well, actually, I like to eat a lot of like Cali burritos back home. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a big tortilla with the French fries and the carne asada and the cheese, the guacamole, pico de gallo. So that was the first thing I wanted to try when I came down here, and it didn't. I didn't find anything like that. So actually, a couple of us went to go buy some of the stuff to try to make them, the Cali burritos. Obviously, the Cali boys were the ones that were trying to do it. So, um, it's a little different. I mean, I like the food in both spots. You know, it's different. You can't really compare. You know, they're both good. I like the Mexican food here. You know, the papa asada, the tacos around here are really good. I mean, I'm a big taco guy, so I'm always looking for new places to try the tacos.
I think when you started describing the Cali tortilla, I don't know if it's the same one because I remember one time I went to California. It was back in '05, and I remember I ate this burrito that it's obviously it's got the meat inside, it's got lettuce, tomato, and then
Hmm.
and then on top of the rolled burrito, it's got the meat sauce and the cheese. I remember that
Oh, I know
specifically.
exactly what you mean.
I don't know if it's the
Yeah.
same one you're talking about, but
No,
that
it's
looks
a
really
little
good.
bit different. No, this one's different because this one doesn't have like the lettuce. This one just has I think it has carne asada, like actual French fries, You can put pico de gallo, guacamole, cheese, obviously, and it's just a big burrito.
Definitely gonna be looking for those ingredients so next time I go to HEB because
Yes.
ya me antojaste, güey. Thanks a lot. And this has been your food moment here down in the valley. No, I'm just kidding. So favorite thing to do has got to be food. So man, great. Now I can't
So
think.
if anybody has good spots, let me know because I'm always up for new spots to try. I'm kind of getting tired of the same spots I'm going to.
So be sure when you guys are actually watching this video on YouTube, or if you guys are listening in the podcast and for the RGV, be sure to tweet at Robert and or at the Down in the Valley account on Twitter. You can find them down. There we go. You can find them down there. Facebook Down in the RGV, Twitter at Down in the RGV, and as well as on Instagram, or to Robert. Give him your recommendations for really good taco spots.
Yeah.
I know, obviously, I'm kind of biased with my mom's cooking, but I know there's a really good place there by Sherry Road and Business 83, or not Business 83, Expressway 83. I don't know if you've been there. It's called Antojitos Mexicanos.
Yeah, we go there. We go there. We've been there.
I really recommend. I always get the what's it called, la sincronizada.
Synchro?
The synchro.
Yeah,
Oh,
we usually get like sopes or we split like the taco pizza they have there. It's pretty good.
they have a taco pizza.
Yeah. Yeah, you should try it. Mind blown.
Yeah, Victoria, si me estás escuchando, next time we go there, next time I'm down there, we're getting that taco pizza, okay? Ya dije, yeah, and it's because it's on the show, it's 100%
It's
gonna happen.
official.
It's official, exactly. Thank you, Rob. Thank you for helping. Okay, so quick little segment before we call it a night. 'Cause I know you probably have things to do right now. So I'm gonna tell you a couple of words or phrases, and you're gonna tell me the first word that comes into mind that describes them. You down for that?
Wait, say that again? You kind of confused
So
me there.
I'm gonna tell you a name or something, and you're gonna tell me the first thing that comes into your mind that describes them.
Okay.
One word that describes them. Okay. All right. Jerson Echeverry.
Caring.
RGVFC.
Ballers.
Houston Dynamo.
Ballers.
San Antonio FC.
Rivals.
Down in the Valley podcast.
The best.
Quit lying. No. Honestly, Rob, we really appreciate you coming on onto the show, taking your time to talk a little bit more about you. I know it's been a little hard to kind of interact with fans and with us because of this whole COVID-19 situation. So I'm kind of taking the opportunity while we don't have any games, so that way people can know more about you guys and hopefully become more connected to the team. I think that's my little grain of sand that I'm trying to give you all, guys, the opportunity so that people know more about you. But I really appreciate, on behalf of myself, on behalf of Ray, on behalf of Jacob and Cesar, we're really grateful for you to take the time to chat a little bit about your life. But before we go, is there two things? One, is there any piece of advice that you would personally like to give for any upcoming players that are listening to you?
I'd just say whatever you want to do, make sure you give it 100% and you sacrifice whatever you need to do to get there and set goals for yourself. And if you achieve them, great. Just keep going and set yourself another set of goals. And I always tell myself, control what you can control. There's a lot of things you cannot decide, you can't control, and if you focus on just controlling what you can do, I think you'll be very successful.
And is there anything at all that you would like to say to the fans? The floor is open for you.
No, I just want to say thank you for the continued support, even when we're not playing. We do notice everything, and it's not we don't just let it slide by. And hope to see you guys soon. Hope you guys are staying safe and clean, and we miss you guys. So, oh, and I just want to give a shout out to my number one fan, Ricardo. Peace.
Where can our fans follow you at if they don't follow you already?
My Instagram is at Rob Coronado 3, and my Twitter, I believe, is Rob C _10.
Okay, so be sure.
If I don't have that wrong.
Sure. No, I've been anyway. I'll post it in the description as well. So be sure, guys. Be sure to follow Robert Coronado on Instagram and on Twitter. I hear on Instagram he's a really good DJ. That's what Instagram tells me. So if you guys like to dance, hey, you know what? I will be honest with you, Rob. Sometimes I use whenever you go live. I use that to pump me up while I'm doing an exercise.
Really?
Especially when you throw those cumbias, man.
The cumbias? I do. So, I need to get some new songs, but I mean, I do have some good content when I post or go live. I mean, Edson can tell you, but I do like going live just because I'm still practicing, my little DJ set and just have fun with it. Always, I do take song requests, so
So be sure to check out his lives. I will say this though. So I remember one time I was still doing quarantine back in McAllen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you went live and then you started playing Payaso del Rodeo. I was telling my sister I was while I was walking around the neighborhood, I was going at the speed, kind of doing the
rhythm.
To the rhythm and the speed, and you went so fast. I'm like, ah! And at the end, I was like, "Oh, torture me, Rob."
Next time I play that, I'm gonna ask someone to go live with me so they could dance or whatever.
hey, I think that'd be the Rob challenge. We can make that a challenge to see who can dance the Payaso Rodeo and who can last the fastest speed in that song. Hey, if you ask my family, I wreck in Payaso del Rodeo at the quinceañeras and the bodas. So I honestly I just love that song.
I bet.
It's
I mean,
just so fun.
That's like the theme song right there.
But anyway, Rob, like I said, we appreciate you coming on. Hopefully, we can get you and the whole team back on the fields soon. We're just gonna be pretty much on standby, hoping to get some more news from the league, from the team. But in the meantime, just stay safe out there. We're still not out of the woods yet, so stay safe out there and say hi to everybody for me.
Yeah, I will. Thank you for having me once again, and it was fun chatting it up, and hope to see you guys soon.
All right, thank you, and guys, have a good night.